All right, so I'm going to make a bit of an experimental video that kind of follows off of the last video about web scraping from our Books to Scrape website. So if you recall, the Books to Scrape website was, hopefully I still have this up somewhere. This is the Books to Scrape's website, if you didn't watch the previous video. And what I want to do, what we identified in here is that if we look up if we go on to the next page, we can see that there's a really clear pattern to how we access new pages. And so what I want to do is I want to exploit that, and it even works with one. I want to exploit that to look through all of the pages in this. And it looks like there should be about 50, right, 1,000 results, 20 on a page, so maybe about 50 pages. I want to exploit that numbering system to loop through and collect all the data from this. So in order to do that, I am going to work with my previous code and then just add a little bit extra to it. So, all right, here's where we're at. Here's the code that I had previously. Let's see. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a scrape method, and it's going to take in like the website. And what I want to do is I want to take all of this information and I want to pass it into my scraper. Scrape is going to take in a website, and then we don't do that. We don't do that in quotes. I do want to have this as a status code. I did kind of notice that there were, like, I did the math right, there should be about 50 pages of this, but I don't want to rely on that. I want to see, like, if I'm unable to retrieve the page, I just want to continue on. I want to, like, skip that. I'll have to see about different ways I could kind of get this to finish right. I think this is going to be... So anyways, what I think I'm going to try and do is I'm going to check the status code. And I'm just wondering about ways that I could do this. I'll probably think about this a little bit more, but first I really need to check the status code. I'm going to say, like, if the status code, let's say if it's not 200, which basically means like 200 is the status code for saying everything's okay. If it's not, we should just return. Okay. And then otherwise, we're going to kind of continue like normal. Oh, I did want to do, I think I'm just going to get rid of this. I don't really need all this code because I did figure out towards the end of that last video, if you watched, that I can just use this to get the correct prices. So let me just return test. I think my first try of this, I should do like scrape, and I should pass in this book to scrape website. And then I want to take the value answer equal to, oh, I realized this, I was thinking a little bit too Java-like. This is going to work from top to bottom, so I need to actually put this down here. So yeah, so the interpreter is going to work from top and work its way down. So, okay, so now we can import. I could probably put the imports up here. I think that would be fine. But all right, so I should get the answer. Let's do our print answer and see what we get out of this. Ideally, it should be just showing us the prices that we had earlier. Oh, we're getting a whole mess of things. Let's see. Interesting. So I thought I'd try a little bit of debugging. This is like essentially the same code, but I'm passing this in instead. Let's see. Let's try and let's see what we can do to try and eliminate some of these. Must be the organization of this. Okay, I messed around with this a little bit and I got it to work. I don't know what was going on. I really just did very little change. I did make this def main and added this statement in here. There was some errors going on in there. Anyways, seems like it's working now, so that's good. So recall where I was at. I can remind myself where I was at was I want to be able to send in this string, and I want to be able to scrape the website. Maybe I just had something silly with the site. I don't know. Anyways, so I'm sending in the string as a website as a kind of as a parameter or an argument. Into here is going to use as a parameter, and ooh, I don't think I updated this. Let's see. This suddenly breaks everything. It does break everything. Oh, okay. All right, so I ended up figuring out what's going on. I don't know if I should just like restart this video. Use a little ChatGPT to help me kind of diagnose, and also kind of using some semi-common-ish sense. I made this in HTTP instead of HTTPS. Seems like that might be the S does like some sort of security thing with the web browser. So removing that does seem like this actually is working now. I'm getting back at least what I wanted. Not real good. I would like to like trim this down a little bit. But yeah, so I think that's working a little bit better. Okay, I'm gonna try to make this video a little bit shorter. So it is somewhat working. I can send in this value. What I really need to be able to do is search through here and collect all of the different pages. I do want to do one thing. Let me see. I'm gonna try something out and I'll show it to you if it works. All right, so it did in fact work. I thought there was a way. I was thinking about this when I did the last video. I wanted to go through in this find all. This is generating a list. So I used a list generator to kind of search through. Instead of doing the mapping function, when I created this list, I also looked through there and got the text out. And I got the last, starting from the second, the second location, second index in the list. I can also throw a float on here too. And generate a list. I'm getting back exactly what I want. All right, the next step, and maybe I'm gonna try and pause this. I don't want to make this like a 20-minute video. I want to look through all different pages, starting with so I'm gonna change this to be an F string. Change this to be an F string. We're gonna change this to be a variable. And I want to do for I. If I could just do maybe like a while. If I could just say like I don't know if there's a better way of doing this. I'm always like cautious of trying to be a good role model about using good Pythoning. All right, so what I'd like to get back, I'm gonna make a list of, let's see, full prices. And let's see, what I'm gonna do in here is I'm gonna do some debugging. I think like I'll turn off the video for debugging. I want to do full prices dot extend this, and that should add all those things on full price. So at the very end, I should have a list of all of the prices throughout the entire website. So let's try and do that. While true, I'm gonna say if. Let's say response is equal to, actually I'm going to do this slightly differently. If response is none, I think this should work. I'll try and do some debugging for these stuff. Basically what I'm saying is like in here, I didn't add this in here. I was going to do this earlier. Say if this web status code is not 200, if it's not the right thing, I just want to return. And so what I'm going to check here is like, if I'm not receiving a website, then I should just break. Probably different ways I could do this. I want to kind of run until, because maybe I just get a bad website and I just want to move on to the next. There's probably some better ways I could do this, but I'm going to return this thing no matter what. I'm going to return something. If that response that I get is none, then I need to break it. Otherwise, we should extend it. And let's fingers crossed. Let's see if this works. Empty. Not so good. Failure. Let me try one thing at debugging here. I want to say, if response, I think instead of saying is none, I think I can just do this. I might look at some better ways of doing this, but let's try this for now. Because this is going to say like, if response means like if it exists, if there's something there. Still no, okay. All right, so I saw a couple of mistakes already, but I just want to kind of model at least a little what I'm finding from the debugging. When I run through this, the first thing I'm finding is that response is none. Okay, so I'm not even getting something when the index is 0. And of course I realize I'm doing two stupid things here. One, I feel like there's got to be a better way of doing this. One, I need to increase I by 1 each time. That's not really the problem, but that is one thing I do need to consider. The other thing is that the page starts at 1, so I really want I to be 1, not 0. And that should, I should at least getting one of these to work. Let's try and debug it. I can understand if I get some errors later on, but I should be able to at least retrieve the first one. Oh, it's not extending by response. Oh, dumb stuff. Hopefully you caught that maybe before me. Let's try it again. Okay, so we got full prices. We're going to get the next one. Full prices. All right, I'm feeling pretty confident we'll be able to get all of the prices. Let's see. We said there was 1,000 total. So let's print this, and let's print also the length of full prices. Okay, and then we're going to run that. Take a minute. Of course, as soon as I paused, it ran, and we did get 1,000 results on here, and we can see all of these values. And so what we could do from here is, do a lot of things now in this data. I'd want to, wish we could just anyway, there's a lot of things I'd like to do. I'd like to be able to save this data so I don't have to keep scraping it, because I kind of feel like badly about scraping this website continuously. Because every time I run this code, like, we're just running code, but from the website's perspective, it's like we're downloading all of this data very quickly. So it's accessing a lot and sending a lot of data to us very quickly. This is pretty simplified data, but it would make me feel a little more ethically sound if I were to save this data and then access it again later. But because I don't want to mess around with it and do some kind of simple things in here. Let's see, because I might want to figure out like what is the minimum. Let's just find some data about this, like minimum. What do we say in responses? No, in full price. I want to find the minimum. I want to find the maximum. And then we can find like the average. I don't know. I know we were talking about trying to find the average of this earlier in class. Maybe there's a better way of doing this. But I could just take the sum divided by the length. Full prices. Let's run. And then we get out, right? We have 1,000. The minimum price was 10. The maximum price was $5.99. The average price was $53.07. A lot of quick math we would probably do on this. I think we'd probably run standard deviation on these. There's a lot of information that we could pull out of here. But I'm going to stop it right there. Just want to show you like an example of kind of taking to the next step and how powerful, I didn't really add that much code. I just had to mess around a little bit with getting this to run through all the different web pages. But I mean, other than my little bit of like debugging here, it was pretty quick.